The latest Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 teaser dropped today, and not only might this be the creepiest trailer we've had for this game yet, but it also gives us some massive clues about the upcoming chapter. While this trailer might only be 2 minutes long, it reveals quite a lot. It shows us who these hidden eyes belong to, it reveals a brand new toy to the series, and it also deepens a mystery that started before Chapter 3. But despite all that, this trailer might not be exactly as it seems. This trailer picks up where Chapter 3 left off. We see the lift we are on rapidly descending while we hear Poppy in the distance. Now this is already kind of suspicious. You can hear Poppy's voice lines from the end of Chapter 3 muffled in the distance. These line up exactly to what Poppy said before the end credits in the last chapter.
We're coming! Just hold on! Go faster!
But that doesn't make any sense. We were with Poppy when she said those lines, and we were heading back up to Kissy in that moment. So why would these voice lines be muffled and far away like this? Well, taking a closer look at the elevator, and it's not the same one we were on in Chapter 3. The gap here is much bigger than the one on our lift, and the console in the middle is missing. The elevator shaft also looks a bit smaller than the one that we were in. Now this is either a huge oversight in this trailer, or this is a different lift with a different person. Considering that they aren't shown to have our grab pack hands either, I'm guessing this trailer is showing someone else. Someone else alive in this factory? Now this would be very interesting if you consider the fact that we've had huge hints that Harley Sawyer is still, in some form, alive inside the factory. We've seen that the ARG up until this point has hinted towards Harley being the big bad of this chapter and likely the whole series. We also saw that this area was on complete lockdown until we supplied it with power at the end of Chapter 3. So my guess is that this trailer is actually showing Harley arriving here before us, hence why we can hear Poppy in the distance. In fact, now that I think about it, Kissy being attacked seems like a great distraction, enough time for Harley to get down here before we do. More on this later though, because the ending of the trailer becomes very interesting with this theory in mind. Now this mystery character arrives in the location we will visit in Chapter 4. We can see the red smoke has been restored here, flowing through these giant pipes. This was the last thing that we did before boarding the elevator with Poppy. Now Chapter 3 implied that this red smoke was used as the power supply, as the areas we diverted the gas to became powered. I mean, gas can be used as a power source, and they were clearly making a lot of it, so it makes sense. But this also implies that this area has been completely without power in this time. With how many dead toys we see down here, this is probably going to be the most nightmarish part of the factory yet. If you thought the giant toys were scary, imagine them hunting you in complete darkness. Speaking of hunting you, we see huge piles of dead toys. We saw these in the previous teaser trailer, but these really show the extent of this toy graveyard. Now we don't know how many of these toys were living experiments, but it really does imply that the death toll was much higher than we previously thought. But not only that, the games have been implying that there are still people to be saved, and we have assumed that they've been locked down here. But now I'm really struggling to see how anything aside from the toy experiments could survive down here in the dark. But as this mystery figure continues, we can see that they are being watched, or hunted. This creepy creature skitters around the dead toys, and at one point we can even hear it breathing as it watches the intruder. This creature is revealed to be a bigger body, easily crushing this Poe beneath their feet. But then looking again at this pile of toys, and it really does show the scale. But we actually see that killing this Poe was done for a reason. At the end of the trailer we see the recently killed Poe on top of this TV, the blood still dripping. Now these eyes on the TV are super creepy, they really do look like something out of Little Nightmares. But as the mystery figure approaches, the eye turns red, almost as if the TV has spotted them. Maybe a hint to a future mechanic, I kinda hope so. As they hear something move, they turn around, and out of the darkness, we finally get our reveal of who those eyes belong to. Meet Yarnaby. Now I don't know about you, but when I heard a toy made of yarn, I wasn't expecting it to be so terrifying. Looking at the toy design, and Yarnaby looks like he fits with Daisy, although he looks more like a lion with his mane of yarn and these claws. But once he opens his mouth, he looks like, well, a cross between the Predator and the Alien. But here is where things get really interesting. His mouth looks very similar to Boxy Boo's. This could make sense. We know Boxy was Harley Sawyer's first successful experiment, and Yarnaby was another one of his. This shows a sort of progression in design, but this jaw type seems to be Harley's signature style. But notice how this toy is behaving around this mystery character. He isn't attacking them. He's opening his mouth, but he doesn't seem to be that aggressive. We learned recently in the ARG that Yarnaby is aggressive to all but one member of staff, Harley Sawyer. He used to be friendly to other security staff too, but well, Harley made sure to put an end to that. When left alone, Yarnaby seems sad, dejected, but if any of the other staff get near him, he turns aggressive. The only member of staff that could get close at this point was Sawyer. So again, since this character seems to have gotten here before us, and now Yarnaby is getting close to them without acting aggressively, this just adds more weight to the theory. In fact, Yarnaby has been described several times now as an animal. The transfer process didn't seem to work completely, and Barnaby lost a lot of his higher cognitive functions. This is a running theme now, many experiments failed, and it seems like Sawyer was trying to get the secret out of 1006. His own attempts to replicate this process were flawed. But the cheekiest clue here is this Poe. If Yarnaby is a lion, then he's a cat, and cats sometimes like bringing their owners gifts, sometimes mice or birds. Yeah, he brought Poe as a gift for his master. I think this trailer is really showing us Harley's return to this area of the factory. He distracted us with an attack on Kissy just long enough so he could get down here first. Now Yarnaby is greeting his owner like any pet who's been left alone for a long time would, with excitement. I mean, why would he go through all the trouble of setting up this dead Poe like this? He's had plenty of opportunity to attack this character, but he didn't. In fact, he even plays him a little song while he was stood right behind him. He could have easily pounced on them instead. And we know what the toys look like when they are aggressive. Speaking of that song, by the way, this does kind of tie into the Pianosaurus, as people are calling them. I think this chapter is going to have a musical element. But there are some more little clues in this trailer. In one of the cells, we can see what I first thought looked like a blood splatter, but looking more closely, it looks like a Poppy has been painted on this wall. This could be related to the Poppy outside of Poppy's room, or the one that we got on the letter at the start of the game. This might have even been 1006's cell, since we know he was locked up at one point and tried to escape. He did kill staff on this escape attempt, so perhaps he drew this Poppy with their blood. We see the CCTV cameras down here are still active, and one of them follows Yarnaby as he walks around here. This is another hint to Harley Sawyer, who seems like he's been watching us from the very beginning. 1006 has been implied to have been watching us too. We get a hint that we will be visiting more caves down here. This is something that was shown in chapter 3, and it shows how unfinished this building really was. We now know that the company probably ran out of funding to finish the building, but it also gives us hints to how the toys could travel around the factory. Perhaps this is even how Playtime Co. managed to find so much natural gas. We see more of these storage containers with these box symbols on them. This symbol is definitely going to be important as it's been showing up for a long time now. I definitely think that these containers were used to transport toys around these areas, but they also seem to match up with the size of some of the cells, so perhaps they were used to transport prisoners. Finally, the TV with eyes is very creepy, but in terms of the story, it could be another massive hint. Eyes have been a symbol in this series for a very long time now, but we still have questions about Ollie and a group of people that spoke to us through a TV monitor in Project Playtime. Knowing the scientific process transfers humans into toy bodies, this could be a hint that humans were transferred into computers too, these eyes being a clue to that. Or maybe it's just supposed to show we are always being watched. Finally, one last thing I want to address is the question, is Yarnaby going to be the main toy villain in chapter 4? I actually don't think so. Usually it's the final trailer for each chapter that fully reveals the main toy villain. Mommy Longlegs was hinted at but only revealed in the final chapter 2 trailer, and so was Catnap for chapter 3. If Yarnaby was going to be this chapter's main toy, then this would be a much too early reveal for it. We haven't even had a full trailer yet, these are just both teasers. I think Yarnaby's going to be a side character like Dog Day or Mr. Light. After all, chapter 3 had more toy enemies than ever before, so I bet they're going to continue that trend in chapter 4. We still have more toys to be revealed yet. Game Theory covered that in their latest video, and we still have the theory that Harley Sawyer will finally show himself in this chapter as well. But that does leave me with the question, If Yarnaby is a side character and is this creepy, how bad is the main villain of Chapter 4 really going to be? I think this trailer is showing us far more than it first appears to. Either there are some huge plot holes here, or this person is not the playable character. Either way, I think it's safe to say now, we are not the only person going to be down here. This trailer has me very excited for Chapter 4. Every time we get something new, I get just a little bit more excited. If you are enjoying the theory content on this channel, don't forget to like this video and maybe subscribe if you want to see more. I will of course be making more Poppy Playtime content as well as some other games. There's a lot releasing lately. I have a lot of work to do, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next Tericho Theory.